thank you for joining us once again for this, the 52nd episode of Drunk Doctor Who, discussing the 52nd serial of Doctor Who.
Doctor Who and the Silurians.
What are we drinking today?
Magma Flame, par for the course, and you?
I'm drinking rum and coke.
Rum and coke and Smirnoff Ice.
That's my backup. I had a daiquiri to start with.
Yeah, he finished the daiquiri.
Super good.
But yay, Magma Flame.
Let's introduce ourselves.
If you're looking for a good cinnamon whiskey, this is it, Magma Flame. Forget Fireball, this is the good stuff.
Introducing your host, Hatter. Today he's joined by Zac Efron.
No, Zach.
I'm focusing on the audio portion of the podcast. People that just press play and then walk away and listen to it while they're doing other things.
He's not Zac Efron. He's better looking. No. Okay, so the serial's Doctor Who and the Silurians.
The Silurians. Dinosaurs.
Well, they're kind of a, what do you say, reptile fish people?
They never said what the others were called, the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Basically little T-Rexes.
Yeah, so they've got the Silurians, they're reptilian people, and apparently have been around much longer, much longer than humans. And they've got a watchdog that's kind of a T-Rex, Godzilla, raptor kind of thing. Anyway, so if you see...
Well, zero.
Okay, so this serial is a bit special in the fact that if you see it says Doctor Who, the normal logo, and the Silurians. If you didn't know any better, you just think the title be and the Silurians, but it's not. It's Doctor Who and the Silurians. But this is the only time that they put Doctor Who in the title, because see, the discs say Doctor Who and the Silurians. It's the only time they ever put Doctor Who in the title. Remember, his name is not Doctor Who, his name is The Doctor. So that's something fans know. This is the second serial for Pertwee, the third Doctor. The 52nd serial. Okay. Yeah, pull all that back. Okay, so anyway, the serial ran from, it was 7 episodes, ran from January 31st, 1970. That's kind of funny because this is currently August 31st. So the serial started on the 31st and we're the 31st. We're August 31st, 2020, of course, and this is January 31st, 1970. Ran until March 14th, 1970. The advantage were Liz Shaw and the Brigadier. The antagonists were the Silurians, the dinosaurs.
Some of the Silurians.
Some of the Silurians. Some of them were good, some of them were bad, as most species are. And Dr. Quinn. Okay. Wait, bring this all back in. Whoa! Yeah, that's what I was saying. Bring it all back in. Alright. 3 drinks. Why do you have 3 drinks?
Well, this is my rum and coke, water to stay hydrated, and that's my backup when this runs out. Why do you only have one?
Well, that's all I need.
That's gonna last you. Oh, well, you.
No, I've got the bottle there, man.
How I have 3 drinks, you have an entire.
I've got the bottle. I mean,
sure. Yeah.
All right.
Oh. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is a twist off. You can just.
What? There we go.
Thank you.
All right. Anyway, that's what a good Swiss Army knife is for. All right. Okay, so 7 episodes, and the first episode sees. Wait, what the heck?
I'm not ready for you. That's for later.
Okay.
I'll open this one for.
Alright. We're dealing with the third Doctor.
John Pertwee,
the gentleman doctor. Point him out. White hair, yep. Alright. Third Doctor. Alright.
Snake tattoo, big buttocks.
Big butt.
He
does have tattoos. He was in the Second World War as, I believe, an intelligence agent.
Phantom of
Not the
Opera.
Doctor, but John Pertwee.
Phantom of the Opera wardrobe.
Okay. So, anyway, first episode.
Mm-hmm.
UNIT, the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, of which the Brigadier is a major player, discover that are sent to a collider
reactor.
Well, yeah, they've got a nuclear reactor, but they've got a what's the term for it?
Particle
collider. The
neutron.
Okay, that the British have built underground in some caves, and apparently there's some problems going on. They've had several personnel problems with people going paranoid or insane, and they've had problems with the energy being dropped off.
It never really explains. Never mind. It never really explains part of the paranoia, and we'll get to that.
It doesn't. So anyway, the Brigadier is in a meeting with Dr. Quinn, and what's the main guy's name?
The Dr. Charles Lawrence.
Lawrence, yeah. Dr. Lawrence and Dr. Quinn.
It says his name like a couple times, and then they just stop saying his name.
Right. And,
so it's hard to...
What's the major?
There's so many names. There's Sergeant Hart. There's a Major... Where's Major?
Yeah.
There's a lot of names there. Hopkins.
The major.
Major Baker.
Major Baker. So, there's a big meeting in this boardroom with...
I have more names than notes.
with Dr. Lawrence, Dr. Quinn,
Major Baker,
and the Miss. What's her name?
Dawson.
Miss Dawson. And the Brigadier's there. And Dr. Lawrence is talking about the problems they've had. And somebody comes in and tells the Brigadier, hey, the doctor's here. So the Brigadier... Oh, originally the doctor was working on his car, Bessie.
He rode in on Bessie.
Right, Bessie, a beautiful yellow car like from the 20s.
Complete with the Who license plate.
Who won.
Won.
Maybe the 30s, but definitely probably the 20s.
Very old automobile.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I would love one of those. And so the doctor is working on this, and they get a summons. So the doctor chases Elizabeth Shaw and himself in Bessie, the name of the car, over to this establishment. They get there, they have to go through a bunch of security, they get in, and they interrupt this meeting. The Brigadier brings them in the meeting late, and Dr. Lawrence.
Yes.
Right?
The comb over.
Yeah. Okay, this guy is later seen in Doctor Who, especially in Genesis of the Daleks, this actor, and I think at least one other time. He's always a real Hanyak, a bad guy, but he's got a really, really, really bad comb over.
Does he always have that bad comb over?
No. Other times he does not, but here he does. But to be fair, his comb over isn't as bad as I thought originally. I mean, it's bad, but from front view, it's not that bad.
Until he gets real rambunctious and it kind of...
Well, yeah, but originally it doesn't look that bad. But comb overs overall are bad. You shouldn't do them. It's just accept reality. Like, I'm bald. Yeah, I'm bald. Accept it. Roll with it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I do like your hair. Okay. Anyway.
Like
what?
Who are some prolific bald actors?
Yul Brynner. Well, he's dead, but Yul Brynner. The Rock.
Die Hard.
Okay, wait. You're talking about
I know, right? I want to say the wrong name, but I know it's the wrong name.
No, wait.
Keep thinking Mel Gibson, but it's
No, not Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson still has hair, but you're talking about the guy from Fifth Element.
Braveheart.
Yeah. No, not Braveheart.
Oh,
Braveheart is Mel Gibson.
Now I'm all confused. Brought to you by alcohol.
Brought to you by alcohol. Confusion brought to you by alcohol.
But just imagine if those people who really rock the bald look, like, decided to go with a comb over instead.
Yeah, no.
They instantly go from prolific action star to dweeby nerdy.
Comb over was 60s and 70s, but wait, you're talking about what is his name?
Not important. My point is it's always better to just go with the
full bald. Wait,
just accept it.
The Rock is full
people
bald.
really rock.
I'm full bald.
Imagine The Rock if he just decided to go.
Man on the Rock is the no. What's his name? He's in so many movies. No, your phone. No, your phone should be on the charger.
Well,
no, we don't need any interruptions. Not with the phone.
It's not an interruption.
If it rings or it beeps or it texts, it's an interruption.
I don't have friends.
What are you talking about?
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
It resolved an interruption.
Put the phone out there.
The interruption was not knowing Bruce Willis's name. Being able to Google it resolved.
The phone out there.
The phone's less of an interruption.
It's not.
It's away.
It's not up there.
It's on silent. Airplane mode. It won't ring.
Okay, so Bruce Willis is bald. So bald is good. Comb overs are bad. Okay. So episode 1.
The Drunk Doctor Who podcast, where we talk about comb overs and anything but the plot.
No, we're gonna talk about the plots. Okay. So Doctor Who and the Silurians. So apparently, some people from the research center went spelunking.
Do you do this? And then bend your thumb? And does your index finger bend with your thumb?
A little.
Yeah.
A little.
That's weird, right?
No.
Can you keep it straight?
Can I keep it straight?
Can you keep it? Yeah, can you not?
Mostly. I can keep it mostly straight.
It still wants to bend.
I can do it
straight. Well, maybe. I can do it better with my right hand than my left hand wants to.
Wait, why are we doing this?
It's just weird how your muscles work like that. Like bending this bends that, even though you don't want to bend that.
It's not weird, it just is. Welcome to another 2-hour episode of Drunk Doctor.
We got 7 episodes to go over.
Oh yeah, this was 7 episodes. So, anyway, a couple people went spelunking. They call it potholing. British potholing. We call it spelunking. Into the caves. They encounter a Silurian. Wait, they encounter the dinosaur.
The dinosaur.
Seems to be a Godzilla-esque dinosaur in the caves. Huh?
Oddly enough, they refer to it as not a biped. They refer to the Silurians as biped reptilians, but not the dinosaur, even though the dinosaur has 2 legs. But I think it also has a tail. So does the inclusion of a tail make it not bipedal? Like, would you consider a kangaroo bipedal?
I have no idea. I mean, I would, but maybe not. Maybe they don't. Maybe not scientifically or biologically.
I wouldn't consider myself bipedal.
Zoologically? Wait, you don't consider yourself
because I got 3 legs. These 2 and 1 in between.
It's not that big. It's not. Well, it could be. You haven't proven to me it's that big.
No, it's not.
Economy tripod.
Like a kangaroo, just kickstand.
Exactly, kickstand. Alright. Okay. So, oh my god, this is gonna take like 10 hours.
You're talking about Godzilla.
Okay, so the 2 spelunkers go into the cave. And they have to be spelunkers.
Spelunk.
They happen to be scientists on their off day, their day off, from the control center. So you go into the caves, Spencer
and
Davis. And apparently they run into the Godzilla-esque monster, and Davis is succumbed. Spencer escapes, and that's the beginning of the whole story.
By succumbs, he means dies brutally.
Yeah, he dies brutally. How many people died?
I don't know.
Total. Okay, we had at least 15 to 18 people died.
We have...
Others are injured, and a couple of Silurians died.
14 humans, 2 Silurians, and then a number of people that died to a pandemic, which got hard to count as they're all collapsing on screen. We don't know.
At least 6 others.
We don't know how many died or were in the last. It's a lot. Probably a new record, I'd say.
Close, but for 7 episodes,
close
it may not be the record per capita.
20 deaths. I think it might be. I think it might be a total record, which would make it a per. Well, maybe not.
All right, here's the death count record. Children's show. Drink. Children's show. Yeah.
Can we talk about what we're drinking?
It will be a family show soon, but not yet.
Not yet. So family show would imply that it would be more violent because it goes from a children's show to a family show.
Yeah.
But in practice, it actually went from more violent to less violent, as you know, the wussification of.
No, when it went from children's show to family show, it was acknowledgement of more violence, very specific violence, like a plant choking the doctor underwater.
But we already have plants choking people on the Daleks master plan.
Right, but
Australia.
This is a very specific thing. And much later on, it does get less violent when it's a family show, but that's
because
that's the
everything
changing of the
times.
times. You know, changing of the times.
Like Poltergeist. Do you know what Poltergeist was rated?
Yeah, PG.
Yeah, PG.
As it should have been. That's because there was no PG-13, although PG-13 occurred partly because of Poltergeist, partly because of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, just a couple of years later. Yeah. Like, have you seen Calendar Girls?
The Girls on Calendars?
No.
Is that a movie?
It's a movie, Calendar Girls.
No, that's it.
Early 2000s. It's a movie about middle to late age women, like in their 50s, who pose for a calendar for charity, and they do it
provocatively.
Well, they do it topless, but they hide their breasts behind things, and it's, the movie. I mean, you can see Dame. What's your name?
Do I need my phone?
No. You can see some famous people's breasts very briefly.
I feel like we need to integrate our podcast with the internet. Like have a tablet on hand with a monitor.
Judy Dent. Anyway,
it'd be super useful to Google stuff.
You can see her breast briefly, but the point is that the movie, under modern circumstances, for some stupid ass reason, because breasts are automatically rated R, and I hate that crap. Breasts are natural; they should be rated PG, not R. Anyway,
it's very much the opposite in Europe. They censor a lot of violence, but
not nudity. Yeah, we censor nudity, but not violence. Anyway, the movie was given a PG-13 rating. I seriously think the movie should be given a PG rating, because it was just a wholesome movie about natural things, and everyone should see it. I mean, there's no reason that movie should have been rated anything other than PG. There's no sexuality to the nudity.
Mm-hmm.
There's no what's the term?
Provocative?
No, not provocative.
Sexualization.
No.
Do we need Google?
No, but I'm drunk. And drunk's good. This is drunk Doctor Who.
What are you trying to say?
Oh yeah, there's no illicitous.
Illicit. Okay.
Is that the word?
Yeah, illicit.
Lascivious. There's no lascivious nature to any of the nudity. There's not a whole lot of nudity at all, but there's no lascivious nature to it. It's all proper and natural, like the Blue Lagoon, you know?
So your diagnosis is that
it's a masterpiece. It should be seen by everybody.
Much like Europeans' rating system is much more accepting of sexual content or
nudity,
nude content, as where in the Americas we don't really distinguish between nude content and sexual content because we kind of sexualized all nudity.
Well, yeah, I mean, like famous art paintings, the Venus de Milo, or David.
David's.
Yeah, Michelangelo's David. Who cares? They're nude, and who cares? It's part of human nature. These are works of art. They should not be rated PG-13 or R. Everyone should see them and should be able to appreciate them, you know? I've seen the actual David. I've seen the Venus de Milo.
Is it actual in person? Or?
Huh?
Is it you're in person?
No, his penis is not hanging past his balls.
I heard his hands are huge.
Yeah, but
proportionally.
No. Balls, penis. He's not that big.
Scrotum.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to flat the skin, scrotum. Keep your testes in.
Anyway, so
what about violence? Why is it that violence is not censored here, but it is censored in Europe? Like headbutts. You can't watch someone headbutt someone else on European.
I don't know why, but I agree with the Europeans over the Americans. I'm American. I'm from New Orleans. I'm Texan now. But I agree with the whole sex is more natural than violence. And sex should be observed and violence should not. Violence should be more censored.
I feel like...
Which is the opposite of
their argument
of America.
Is oftentimes, when you witness something you want to create, you're more inclined to reproduce that. They're like, video games make you violent. That's why sex is better
than violence, again.
Video games make you violent. Well, in America we have a problem with teen pregnancies. You see sex, you want to recreate that. Monkey see, monkey do. Violence, sexuality. Either way, it'd be really boring if we really censored both. So you gotta pick one or the other, I guess.
In France, you know what the minimum age of consent is?
Too young, in my opinion.
It's like 14.
That's too young. Your brain is still developing.
You know what it was 5 years ago?
I don't know if I want to know.
There wasn't one. They only finally, very recently, established a minimum age of consent. And that is where people like, what's his name?
Do you need Google?
No, the director.
This is why we need Google.
Roman Polanski. The director Roman Polanski, who here in America vaginally, orally, and anally raped a 14-year-old, 13, 14, 15-year-old, and ran off to Europe.
See, no matter what the age of consent is, that's not going to save you from rape, church. It's not consenting. It's still not consenting.
But here it wasn't the age of consent. Over there it might have been.
But it's still rape.
That's part of the difference between the cultures. And
even if it is in the age of consent.
Roman Polanski, well, there were drugs involved. But Roman Polanski, he could theoretically claim age of consent based on his own culture. But this is why some cultures are better than others. And the American culture is the best, no matter what other people in the world say. Just because you have a voice does not mean you're right. everyone has a vote, but not everyone's opinions are equal, and not every civilization's opinions are equal.
Rule of thumb. Wait for their brain to finish developing. Or at least, mostly, partially. And then you can have... So like 18, 21... Wait till... You can wait. Life is short. You can wait till 18, 21.
Yeah, no, the whole French thing... Yeah. Anyway.
I waited till 21 to start drinking. And it's fine. I have the rest of my life.
I waited till 34.
I didn't miss out on much.
I was 34 when I started drinking.
You didn't miss out on much. So.
Wait, was the woman who drove me to drink and I didn't have the decency to thank her. You don't know the quote?
What? No, I get it.
But you don't know the quote.
No, who said that? Who coined that term? Do you need Google?
No. That was the late great, God, I'm drunk. What was his name? Yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
Alright, yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
we'll come back around.
Wait. I'm just blanking. Okay.
Alright,
yay, alcohol.
Let's go back to the plot.
No, anyway. Go back to the plot of the show.
We talked about cultural differences.
We've gone way off the mark.
And controversial, what would you call it? Acceptances and... Back to the plot of Doctor Who.
First episode?
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay. So they go to this center where they're conducting all these experiments, which is the center of a super collider, essentially, which happens to be underground, the caves in Great Britain, and mostly in Yorkshire, somewhere around there, but all these different caves, and they're doing the collider thing, but there are drop-offs in the power to the super collider. They're basically big drop-offs in the power that's creating from the nuclear reactor that they have down there. And these drop-offs are written off by Dr. Quinn and what's her name?
Miss Dawson.
Miss Dawson. But the director
Lawrence. Dr. Lawrence.
Yeah, the guy with the bad comb over. He's like, no, these must be figured out, and that's why Unit's there.
Well, Unit shows up very much despite Dr. Lawrence's protests. He wanted.
Well, yeah, he does want everything to continue.
He does want them to get some solutions.
Right.
And there's a growing, I wouldn't say hostility, but agitation between Unit.
It's a bit of hostility.
The Brigadier and Dr. Lawrence. Anyway, so the Doctor shows up. He starts, getting to the bottom of things. Mm-hmm. He's investigating. He forgot his sonic screwdriver, so he can't take apart pieces of machinery quite yet. But he's looking at the charting of the, what was it? The wavelengths of something for irregularities.
Right.
And Dr. Quinn assures him, "No, there's no problem." And he's like, "No, there are pages. It's inconsistent. There's data missing." He's like, "Well, that's because Spencer was in charge of keeping the logs, and he's been injured and he's in the hospital." He's like, "Nope.
But
not only that,
ripped out.
the pages are ripped out."
W.C. Fields.
W.C. Fields.
Yeah.
Coined the term.
It was the woman who drove me to drink. I didn't have the decency to thank her. W.C. Fields. All right. Cheers. Ooh. Yay to W.C. Fields. I love that guy.
You know what drove me to drinking? I think was boredom.
I'm drinking because of boredom.
It gets boring with that
stupid ass coronavirus. Wuhan coronavirus.
The virus.
Hate this crap.
Your cup's bigger than mine.
Giddy. W.C. Fields, look him up. He's awesome.
Is he a poet?
Actor, comedian, vaudeville, Hollywood. He was awesome.
Do you think there's a market for stealing the ashes from funeral homes and selling it to cannibals as instant people?
What the hell are you talking about?
Just add water.
What?
That's a bit I read out of Milton Berle's joke file.
Uncle Milty.
Gags. Everyone's an uncle.
No, Uncle Milty is a
Dick's.
specific uncle.
Uncle Dick's.
Uncle Milty. No, Uncle
Terrence.
Uncle Milty. Milton Berle's special.
Are you gonna be uncle? Uncle Hatter. Are you an uncle? You are an uncle.
I am, and I'm very avuncular.
Avuncular.
Avuncular. That means uncle-like.
It sounds German.
Okay.
Or Russian.
I'm like, okay.
Avuncular.
Men look at kids, or especially women, and look at women with a certain sexual predatoriness. But when they look at their nieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they look at them as just girls, special little girls, that's avuncular. And they're just friendly people. They're just there as friendly people. That's avuncular.
I agree with that.
And that's what, I mean, especially men my age, we're avuncular. And people respond to that as friendly because they know we're, what's the word? Non-threatening.
Your sex drive has died.
Oh, no, but I have a wife. She takes care of that. But I mean,
familial.
My sex drive is towards 40 and 50-year-old women. It's not towards 20-year-old girls. I mean, no, God, no. No, I mean, that's avuncular. I mean, we look at them as children. We don't look at them as sex objects.
I can't. I'm abstinent.
Mm.
I'm a virgin.
Well, you go with it. You roll with that.
I
Yes.
am a nun.
You roll with that. That's good.
There's an internet term that's really funny.
I'm not, but I'm much older.
I'm joking. I'm trying to think of this internet term. It's very rude. It has to do with abstinence.
Don't say incel.
Celibate. And
it stands for involuntarily
celibate.
It used to be
so
incel, but they dropped the V because
incel's much better.
Sense. So incel
rolls off the tongue.
Involuntarily celibate. I mean, someone who can get laid if he tried, but God, dude, no, you're not incel. You're gorgeous. You can get laid anytime you want. But you're better than that. You're better than that. You're saving yourself. And that's a good thing.
No, I'm a nun.
No.
I'm asexual.
No.
I started off joking, but I don't know where the punchline is, so we'll move on from here.
He's not a nun. Like I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body. You're not a nun.
There you go.
No, you. But I'm glad you're still a virgin, and I wish you, and I pray for you the best night ever once it happens.
I'm not a virgin, but thank you.
You're not?
I was joking.
No.
I'm also not asexual or a nun.
Well, I think you're not a nun or asexual, but not a virgin. Okay, I know that. You need your backup.
I don't know. I'll let you continue the plot. I'll make another one of these. I'll come back for that. I'll let you do the plot without interruption. I'll be back.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. Alright, the doctor and Liz go to this control center for, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're this far in and we're still on episode 1. Control center for this electron, proton thingy. They go there and they are tasked to find out what's going on by the brigadier. So he sends Mr. Shaw to go look at personnel files. He sends the doctor to go look at the scientific stuff. Eventually, the doctor comes back where there's nothing wrong with the scientific stuff. This collider is fine. But Miss Shaw experienced not only some weird fluctuations in the magno-egotism of the things. Oh my gosh, that sounds so bad. Anyway, she experiences problems with the wavelengths, but she goes through the personnel files and she discovers that there are some problems. There's a particular individual who went with his friend down into the caverns. They went spelunking, American, apparently it's potholing in British. They went spelunking in the caves, they looked around, they discovered a Tyrannosaurus Rex thingy. One guy died, the other guy lived. The other guy was drawing caveman painting on the room of his hospital. The doctor discovers this, takes it to the brigadier. The brigadier's like, yeah, whatever. I need more proof. And the doctor goes, okay. And so the doctor and Elizabeth Shaw are looking into more, folders and binders of people, background checks. The major is fully in the belief that there are saboteurs saboteuring the station, which is kind of actually true, And here you are.
Is that Captain Morgan in my pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Giggity.
I ran out of mixers, so I just did one here.
No problem.
I'm running out of cup holder. Or fleece mats. No. Coasters. That's the word I'm thinking of. I can't think of the word coaster. Oh. What were we talking about? Incels?
No.
We're all part of the human race, but some people drop out. I've never had sex with a woman. I've only made love to them.
Okay, I can go with that.
Ooh, what were we talking about? Do what? Captain Morgan?
I said good Captain Morgan.
It hit pretty good. There's either this original Spice Rum. They also had Captain Morgan 100 proof, and I said,
The black label 100 proof is a bit.
This is 70 proof.
Fierce.
Yeah,
I
definitely didn't want to get the black label.
That's pretty good.
I feel there's this phenomenon which I experience where I'll either have a really low tolerance, I'll get drunk really fast, and I'll sober really fast. But if I get drunk earlier in the day, like for lunch, and then I sober, and then I'll get drunk later, my tolerance is like tenfold. And that's what I did today. I had like 2 fuzzy drivers.
Really?
At lunch, and I got pretty tipsy. And I sobered up over several hours, and then now I'm drinking, and I feel like I'm just completely sober.
Give me the Captain Morgan.
You need another shot?
Yep. Why not?
Let's take shots. I'll grab some shot glasses. We don't need shot glasses. You spill. I don't know if you're going to make it through the podcast at this point. We haven't even finished the plot or started the questions.
Dude, we're on like episode 2, like 45 minutes in.
That was good.
It is good.
Well, it's here if you need it.
Yep. Well, no,
we're only
halfway through. But that's a 0.75, not 1.75.
What? This is 70 proof.
It's a 0.75.
Oh,
as opposed
you're talking about
handle.
volume.
Yeah, and the handle is
I misheard.
Okay.
0.75. How big is that?
0.75.
What? No, that's points. Oh, wait. That's 0.75? This is 0.75.
That's 0.75.
That's like 2.5.
No, 1.75.
What is this? 0.75. Oh, that's 1.75, and this is
right.
0.75.
That's a bottle. That's a handle. That's what they call them. 0.75, 1.75.
How much is a flat? How much is a flat? Is that a unit of measurement?
A flat's an apartment.
No, it's like a quarter of a pallet or something. Like a flat of water is like a 12-pack of bottles.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or a crate, I don't know. Did you know that a jiffy is a unit of measurement in time? I'll be back in a jiffy. It's 1/50th of a second, which I think is way too short.
1/50th of a second.
1/50th of a second.
Do you know how long a moment is?
No. 3 seconds? How long is a moment? 5. 30. Oh, it's too long. I think a moment's too long. I think you told me before. How long is a moment?
A minute and a half.
That's too long for a moment.
90 seconds. A minute and a half.
Taking a moment, or like a moment of silence, a minute and a half seems a bit excessive.
No, that's what it is. A moment is a minute and a half.
Excuse me. Moment. Excuse me. Like a moment in history. All right, you've convinced me. I'm swayed. A minute and a half. Perfect amount of time. It did take a lot of convincing, but now
we're drunk, and this is Drunk Doctor Who, and we're on like episode 2 of 7.
Yeah, where were you on the plot before I got back and started talking about?
Oh my gosh.
Captain Morgan in my pocket.
I've
I've distracted us again.
Okay,
There shall be no podcasting on my watch.
Yeah, okay. So this is like 3 times as long as it should be.
We'll just skip to the questions.
That's it. Wait, no, skip the question. Okay, hold on. We've got a lot of
We could save so much time if we just cut out all of the plot.
You sound like my ex-wife.
Summarize it.
Okay.
I feel that's the mentality of porn. Is like we can have so much content if we cut the plot out.
But the best plot has plot.
It's basically
the best
the room.
porn has plot.
That's no. Like the room.
Yeah.
The room.
Pirates. Yeah.
Like that picture you sent me of Sarah Jean Underwood.
No. There's a porn called Pirates. It's really, really good.
Yeah, it doesn't have. It has plot.
It does. And pirates. And it's really, really good. But anyway.
I assume you only watch it for the plot.
No, I watch it for the porn. Okay. So, where the hell were we? So anyway, the doctor lives with Sean are trying to figure out what's going on. Like, I'm lost. I am so totally lost.
Alright, I'll pick up. Where are we at? Episode 2?
Episode bloody 2.
Alright, so, the doctor goes spelunking, potholing in the cavern to run after, what happened to Spencer and Davis. He runs into Godzilla himself and is about to be slashed to pieces, but then this
What's episode 1?
ear-raping alarm sound comes out. Oh, yeah, you're right, my bad. And then something calls off the big beastie. And the doctor is saved. Your turn.
What are you talking about? You're keep going in episode 2.
Well, what happens after that? The doctor goes back upstairs. They send a search party back downstairs. There's a lot of back and forth from the facility to the caverns. they're searching a dude with a gun. He sees something. He says, freeze. It doesn't freeze, so he shoots a warning shot over its head, but it ricochets and hits the silhouette of some shadowy figure. The shadowy figure's hit, and it runs off, just as that person is attacked by the big beastie Godzilla again.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't die, because just like the Doctor, in the nick of time, the beast is called off and retreats into the corridors of the cavern.
Yep.
So then, they all converge on the spot of, gosh, who was that? Captain Hawkins? No. That was Lawrence. Yeah, Charles No. Baker. That was Major Baker then off the side to Godzilla.
Major Baker.
He got pretty bruised up. His arm was dislocated or something. Baker. So they send Major Baker up to the sick bay to be,
sick bay.
Serviced.
Gilly.
And patched up. What happens after that?
So Major Baker is trying to explain to anyone who listens to him that there are saboteurs in the caves. Right. They're not saboteurs, they're actually Silurians.
Reptilians.
Yeah, Silurians.
The one that got hit, by the way, by the ricochet warning bullet, limped off out of, he
out
made
of the caves.
A hasty retreat, which was
into the countryside.
Yeah, and they followed the blood trail. They took samples of blood, so we have the Doctor and
Elizabeth
Shaw taking samples of the blood and researching it, whilst this monster bumbles its way into the countryside, little hamlet,
Silurian,
little portlet, basically.
He goes into basically a barn.
He takes a nap in some hay.
Right. He sleeps in the hay. Farmer comes in the next day with a pitchfork, 2 prongs, not 3 prongs like we have here.
It's not a trident. It's a bident pitchfork,
right.
Which seems less functional to me. I feel like you're really like a fork, kind of. Well, yeah. Anything that's a bident should be reserved for like maybe cutting a ham. I don't know if you can really pitch hay very well with a bident. More of a trident thing, kind of.
I don't know, but the guy has a bident, and he goes into the
I feel like a bident's not really a pitchfork as much as like a flop fork.
Don't know. I really don't know.
I don't understand the physics of it. To be fair, I'm not a farmer, nor a European farmer.
Correct.
I have pitched hay with a pitchfork.
You pitch hay.
3-pronged pitchfork.
You pitch hay.
Not anymore. I used to.
You used to pitch hay.
That was a summer job I had. I do it every summer, and it was miserable. And we used to have a horse. So very minimal, I'd say, is my experience with pitching hay.
Okay.
Really, it's
You've
not
done more than that.
Basically, it's obsolete. No one pitches hay anymore. Which I don't know why people would have pitchforks anymore. Because you have machinery that does that now. Machinery harvests the hay, bundles it up for you. It's all automated. There's no point in pitching hay anymore. Well, I guess if you're like feeding livestock, it's all automated.
This was the 70s.
Anyway.
The cereal.
I have a problem with the functionality of a 2-pronged pitchfork. I don't understand the functionality of it. Anyway, so this farmer walks into his barn. And he starts pitching the hay.
And there's a Silurian. He freaks out.
Yeah, he freaks out.
He says, come give the sheriff here with his problems.
Doris, call the police.
Call the police, you
And
woman.
Doris is like, why? And he's like, don't ask why, woman. There's a monster.
Yeah.
There's a beastie. And then he's
attacked by the beastie. He dies. The beastie supposedly gets away. In the meantime, the Doctor and the Brigadier and Elizabeth Shaw show up there.
Because they hear the reports about the mysterious goings on. I don't know how they heard reports because Doris never ended up calling the police that I saw. She also confronted the Silurian and then really screamed a lot and then passed out or something.
No, she didn't confront him, but she just had to be there.
She said, ah!
Yeah.
And then she was traumatized
by the Silurian.
Yeah.
Because some people apparently can't handle the aspect of an alien in their midst.
No, all people. It had to do with their third red eye.
Some people, I mean...
Some people, meaning only the doctor. Only the
Elizabeth Shaw.
Elizabeth Shaw wasn't hit by the I-beam. She was just slapped in the face.
Yeah,
she wasn't attacked by the fear beam, which gave people heart attacks.
Fear beam.
Anyway, so
fear beam.
The Silurian, the wounded Silurian disappears. The Brigadier, the doctor, and Miss Shaw hear the police report about a strange monster in a barn, so they post haste make it to the barn, start investigating.
Right.
Quinn shows up mysteriously, Dr. Quinn. He says, they're like, what are you doing here, Mr. Quinn, after you had gone missing from the compound? They're looking for Quinn earlier. The reason he went missing is because he was walking through the caverns mysteriously, showed up at the Silurian base compound, was talking to them. We got this dialogue moment of how he revealed his machinations, his plot to learn of Silurian technology. He's power hungry. He wants science in exchange for him helping them wake their species and stuff. So they're like, you have to recover our wounded. And he's like, they're way too, you have unit digging around. There's no way. Also, you promised me technology. They're like, we'll share you our secrets and science if you recover this wounded Silurian. He's like, okay. So they give him this beeping device, which is supposed to hone in and cyclonically audio something. Sonarically.
Right.
It's this audio signal that sort of homes in on their third eye or something. So he's like, okay, I'll do it. So he takes the garage door opener that has the most annoying ringtone, and he goes off after the Silurian. He shows up at this cottage because he also heard about the police reports. And he's like, well, that makes sense because there's a cavern exit right by there.
Cottage.
Yeah. So, do it.
And it's his cottage.
It's not his cottage. Miss Shaw talks about later how it's way out of his way.
Wait, not the farm, but I'm talking about his cottage. His cottage.
He does have a house, which is mysteriously far away from the cottage. Right. He shows up at.
The farm, yeah.
So, Quinn mysteriously shows up at this barn right after the doctor and Miss Shaw and the unit and the Brigadier get there. They're like, what are you doing here, Quinn? He's like, I saw the sirens and the police and I was curious. So I decided to drop by and what's going on? And they're like, some strange reports. So he's like, okay. And then Quinn kind of takes off and we're left there with the Brigadier and the doctor and they're investigating and they're like, I forgot what called them away. Anyway, the Brigadier prompts Unit to start doing this massive search of the grounds and this field for this reported monster. Yes, they have hounds out, they have helicopters, they're sweeping the area. The doctor and the Brigadier drive off. They leave Miss Shaw to do some scientific investigation of the barn. She's looking for blood samples or something, so she gets out her little chemistry kit. The doctor and the Brigadier drive away in Bessie, his old yellow automobile. And then they meet up with Roberts, some dude, some unit dude, who's like, the helicopter sighted this guy in a car. It was mysterious. He kind of waved at the helicopter, got in his car and drove away. Well, that was, go figure, Dr. Quinn looking for the Silurian. Meanwhile, I'll let you take over. How did they figure out that the Silurian really never left the barn in the first place?
Because they went to talk to the wife of the
That's
man
right.
who died,
Yeah, she was in the hospital.
and,
That's
she
why
was in the
they
hospital.
Yeah.
They held the paper to her and said, "Is this what you saw?" And she's like, "Yes, he's still in the barn." And as they go, "Oh my gosh, Elizabeth Shaw!" So they run back to the barn to help save Elizabeth Shaw. But by then the Silurian had tossed her aside, not
Slapped
lethally, not lethally, just knocked her aside. And
she was incapacitated by this, but on film it just looks like her face is here, and he just goes, eh. He just kind of pushes her to the side, and that knocks her out.
And to be fair, that's what a lot of
stage direction in the old 1970s, 1960s.
Right, stage direction and
filmography. Just this funny first-person perspective of the monster, and he's this big muscly thing which, smacks someone upside the head and that knocks him out. But in practice, what it really looks like is just some dude with a rubber glove going, eh.
Yeah.
It's quite comical.
Things are different back in those days. But he shoves her aside and she knocks unconscious. He escapes through breaking down.
Yeah, he locks the door and then chews his way through the other side of the barn.
He gets out of there, and eventually the doctor and the brigadier show up, and they break in, and they
find the incapacitated
Elizabeth Shaw. They revive her, and she's okay. So
she's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. So they get her up and going, and
that's when they talk to the guy who talked to the helicopter pilot about the mysterious car pulled over on the side of the road in the area that they're searching.
Because Dr. Quinn was looking for the Silurian who had escaped, was the one who injured Dr. Shaw, who was the one who killed, what's his name?
Someone.
Killed someone. We are in so many deaths right now, like 20-something deaths.
Oh, not yet. We're only at like 2 by episode. We're still at episode.
Anyway, so the Silurian killed the poor farmer, killed other people.
Oh yeah, the farmer.
And he escapes, and they're like, well, we were about the Silurians. And eventually the doctor's like, well, we need to help and talk to them.
So Quinn finds the injured Silurian off camera. He takes it back to his cottage. The brigadier and the doctor kind of catch on to the fact that, Quinn's being pretty mysterious. So the doctor goes to confront him. He goes to the cottage. He's like, well, this started earlier when Miss Shaw first woke up. Quinn was there, and they're like, he's like, oh, I'm going back to the compound. The doctor's like, can you take Quinn with you, or Miss Shaw with you? He's like, no, that's not possible. He's like, well, no, I thought you were going back to the compound. He makes this excuse about the mechanic and his car, and it'll be some time. So he's like, okay. And then the doctor, after hearing the reports of the helicopter spotting the car on the side of the road, he's like, well, that's probably Quinn. I'll go search out his cottage. So he goes to the cottage. Lo and behold, Quinn is there at his cottage. And the doctor goes, ding dong, hello, what's up? I thought you were going back to the compound. He's like, I am, obviously. He's very indignant. He's like, I just had something to grab here, blah, blah, blah. So the doctor sort of invites himself into his house as Quinn tries to shut the door on him.
He pushed his foot in the door.
Yeah, he pushes his hand and then he's like, it's very hot in here. And Quinn's like, yeah, the thermostat's broken. And
Mm.
And he's like, "Ooh, it's so warm. It's like a reptile habitation." And he's like, "What are you trying to say, doctor?" You know, Quinn's not being obvious at all. He's really indignant and defensive. And the doctor's like, "Well, I'm not saying anything." And then he looks him like dead in the eye and goes, "If you need help, let's talk. You need to talk to somebody about what's going on."
Exactly.
And Quinn's like,
What's up?
they both realize they know what's going on, but Quinn's still putting up this facade of, "I don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here. You really must go. Thermostat guy's gonna be here." So the doctor's like, all right. So the doctor hightails it back to the compound. What happens in episode 3? The doctor.
Episode 4.
The doctor decides to.
Yeah, I'm gonna use the restroom.
All right. So the doctor gets back to the compound. He starts to investigate Quinn's office. So Miss Shaw and the doctor are in Quinn's office.
I'll be right back.
So they're investigating Quinn's office, and he finds a few things of interesting detail. He not only finds a map of the caverns with a route laid out, he also finds this globe of the Earth, but in a primordial state of Pangea, where all the continents are smushed together. He's like, that's interesting. This is interesting. And then Miss Dawson shows up, who we kind of get the hint at this point that Miss Dawson has a big crush on Mr. Quinn, because whenever Quinn is missing and they're like, "Where's Quinn?" and he's like, they're talking to Miss Dawson, who's kind of like this scientific doctor assistant / receptionist kind of person. So she's manning the phones and sort of doing, assistant work with Mr. Quinn. So they go to her and they're like, "Where's Mr. Quinn?" And she always kind of guffaws about Mr. Quinn. He's like, "Oh, he works so hard. He's not appreciated." And so you kind of get the hint that she has a crush on him. She really admires him. So anyway, Miss Dawson shows up in Mr. Quinn's office as the doctor and Elizabeth Shaw are kind of snooping about, and she's like, "What are you doing here? You can't be in here." And the doctor kind of, looks her in the eye and kind of lays it all out. And he's like, "I know what's going on here, and Dr. Quinn's involved, and I think you know a good deal about it too, so just come clean." They're kind of talking about the Silurians and what's going on, and then she kind of guffaws again about Dr. Quinn. She's like, "He's a brilliant mind, and no one appreciates him." And anyway, let me see what happens after then. Let me think. This is a good sized serial. It's 7 episodes. So, and I'm fairly drunk, so I'm trying to recall what happens. Anyway, we also get a look at the Silurians. Scene transition. The Silurians are in their compound. There's another power outage while they're in Dr. Quinn's office. And we see, we get some insight into what's causing these power outages. It's the Silurians, and they're siphoning power from this nuclear reactor compound sort of experiment that's going on. They're experimenting with nuclear energy and nuclear reactors and atomic energy. And these reptilian Silurians have kind of plugged into this reactor in this compound, and they're siphoning power from it. And we find out that the reason they're siphoning power is to awaken their hibernating brethren of Silurians. So the Silurians, the majority of their species are in a hibernating state. They're in these sort of stasis chambers, and apparently they need a lot of energy to awaken them. So they've been, trying, really trying, but failing to be subtle about subtly, they're failing at being subtle of taking power and awakening their hibernating Silurians, because every time they do that, there's a power outage, and that's really obvious. And Dr. Quinn's been trying to cover it up by tearing pages out, but he can't really cover up what's going on here.
What?
So we're talking about the plot. We're doing a plot summary. We just finished episode 4 and how they're awakening Silurians from hibernation.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens in episode 5 after they've been snooping around Dr. Quinn's office and the Silurians are awakening people from slumber?
Oh yeah, but the Silurians think that the humans are just apes, advanced apes, and they have to exterminate them.
Some of them do. We sort of get a glimpse
leader doesn't think
into
so.
the hierarchy, and there's some friendly people, and there's some not so friendly Silurians, and some of half of the Silurians have a very aggressive, primitive view on the human species as these unevolved lesser species, these apes, and then the other half of the Silurians are they've done quite well. They're intelligent species. So luckily, the guy in charge is one of these more peaceful, less aggressive Silurians who says, no, humans are, they have some knowledge. They've done some.
But they kill him.
Advancements. Spoil it.
Well, we're there.
All right. Talk about that then.
So, the Silurians who don't like the human race kill the leader who does, who thinks that we can achieve peace. They sonic him to death with their
third eye.
Sonic third eye. Yeah. And they kill him.
So the second in command kills the more peaceful Silurian who's open to talks and then takes charge and he's like, we have to exterminate these humans because they've taken over our planet.
He assumes power,
Yeah, so his plan to exterminate the humans is to unleash this pandemic virus that they released back in the day when
apes.
Neanderthals were pillaging their crops of the Silurians. So they released that again with Major Baker, who had been in the hospital because how he was attacked by Godzilla, but then he's going kind of star crazy. He's kind of fearful and mad, and he wants to get to the bottom of things, but he's under guard because they know he's kind of stir crazy. They're like, oh, you're injured, you can't stay in the hospital. So we have Sergeant Hart who's put on guard, and then Major Baker puts up this facade of, my shoulder's hurting, help me take this jacket off. So Major Hart goes, yeah, let me help you with that jacket. He's taking his jacket off, he's hanging up, and then Major Baker karate chops him on the back of the neck, incapacitates Sergeant Hart, and then makes a run for it. He goes spelunking in the caverns, he makes it to the Silurian base, and then is captured. So they're questioning him, and that's when this big shift of power happens. At this point, the doctor also shows up. He went spelunking to go looking for Major Baker, and he makes it to the Silurian compound, which is locked. It's blocked by this stony door, and so the doctor uses his garage opener that he took from Mr. Quinn. Oh, also, Dr. Quinn was in his cottage after the doctor left, and the injured Silurian that was with him. The Dr. Quinn wanted to keep a injured Silurian and sort of extort him or blackmail him for the science and the technological advancements that he's after, and he's kind of power hungry. He's like, I need technology and stuff. So he's like, you're gonna give me answers. And so the Silurian obviously was like, well, screw you, and he kills him with his third eye heart exploder beam. He just takes it off back to the cavern. So then the doctor shows up again, sees that Dr. Quinn is dead, does some investigating, takes his garage door opener sonic doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, really annoying sound maker that homes in on. Anyway, so he takes that, he made it back, he went into the caverns, he found the Silurian base entrance, he's able to open the door with this homing beam audio thing. And then he sneaks in with Miss Elizabeth Shaw, and they're doing some investigation. They find Major Baker, who had been captured, and they're talking to him, and they're like, well, you know, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. They've been questioning me a lot. They're like, okay, well, you know, be cooperative, try to find out about the Silurians and what they're after, and we'll be back with reinforcements. So they go back up to the compound. Major Baker is not being cooperative, and the second in command is not really taking it well. He's really upset. And this is when this whole sort of power shift happens. You know, there's a lot of agitation. The Silurians are upset that the leader sort of views these humans as equals when they view them as vast inferior. So the doctor gets back up, he informs the brigadier of what's going on. Major Baker's been captured, Silurian plots abound. What would you say happened after that? The doctor comes up with this plot of, you know, they're intelligent beings, they must be rational, we can reason with them. He sneaks off and goes back to the base compound. Elizabeth Shaw and the brigadier are kind of hanging out. This other dude shows up. What do they call him? The under officer spirit. Anyway, Lawrence. No. Charles Lawrence. Undersecretary. That's it. Lawrence is really tempers are rising, agitation's rising. Lawrence is really upset with the brigadier. They've been butting heads this whole time about this investigation into his compound. So he calls the undersecretary to do this investigation about the efficiency of the brigadier. He shows up. That whole meeting's happening. The doctor sneaks off back to the Silurian base. He shows up, and he's trying to talk to the Silurians and reason with them. He's like, hey guys, hi, sorry to, you know, rush in on you like this. Silurians are like, how'd you get in here? And he's like, let's talk, let's reason, you know, what's going on? What happens after that? They kind of throw him in a cage for a while. Gosh, it's hard to say. Eventually the doctor gets through to him. He reasons. He's like, y'all are reptilians, humans, and Silurians can live in harmony. Y'all are more reptilian. You live in harder environments because you're cold-blooded. So like deserts and stuff, those land masses are vastly... Are you going to bet on me, Hatter?
I am.
Oh, we got questions though. We have to finish the podcast.
You your questions.
Who am I going to ask you? That's my questions when you're sleeping. Alright, I'll finish the plot summary. So...
Yeah, you can do.
I'll try. I'm trying to recall everything that happened. It's rough. So the doctor kind of gets through to the leader. He's like, we can live in harmony. You know, you can live in these uncivilized places of the earth. You can build up your societies in these hotter climates that you thrive in, but us humans don't thrive in. We can live in peace. So the leader, Silurian's pretty open to this idea. He agrees. He's like, yeah, that could work. Yeah, okay, let's do that. So he sets the doctor free to go talk to the brigadier, and so they can, you know, negotiate. While that's happening, the second in command, Silurian's really hostile. He's like, well, how could you set him free? He's nothing but an ape, and they're vastly inferior. And the leader's like, no, we have to think of them as equals. You know, the humans aren't too bad for themselves. We can live in peace. So there's this big what's the word? Coup. There's this big coup of there's shifts in power. They basically murder the leader, Silurian, and the second in charge takes charge, who's much more aggressive and.
It's a coup. That's a coup.
Coup, yeah. The coup of power. Anyway, the doctor gets back to the compound. He's talking to the brigadier about how, we can reason with them. It's going to be okay. The meantime, they're like, well, now the more aggressive Silurians have taken charge. They're like, we have to eradicate humans. They released this pandemic virus on Major Baker. They're like, now he's infected. We'll set him free, and they'll spread among the entire human population. So then Major Baker, he's set free. He goes back to the compound. He's like, they set me free, and they're evil, and we have to fight them. And then the brigadier's like, yeah, we'll send for reinforcements. And the doctor's like, no, don't send for reinforcements. They're reasonable. They're rational. They'll negotiate with us. We can live in harmony. Ooh, what happens after that? Mm-hmm. So Major Baker's shows up and he's like, no, he's really aggressive. He's kind of stir crazy. He's like, it's not gonna work. And the doctor's like, look at your wrist. You're infected. It looks like this. What did you call it? Some sort of staph infection. He's getting all these like open wounds and pox, and obviously very infected. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, avoid him. Stand back. And they quarantine him. That leads way to this whole montage of the doctor and Miss Lawrence investigating this disease and sending for antibodies and antibiotics and all these different sort of medicines and chemicals as they're trying to devise a cure and some sort of vaccine to this virus that's going on and spreading. And the meanwhile, what was his name? Dr. Lawrence and the Undersecretary is like, oh, there's a big pandemic happening. There's this alien species. I'll go back to the head of science of London. Mm-hmm. And he takes off. And he was also in contact with Major Baker. So he's infected. And meanwhile, he's spreading this infection all across London as he shows up at the bus station and the subway, and he's walking around town, and he takes a taxi, and he's going back to London. And, they're really just figuring out that this virus is very contagious and it's spreading. And so they show up at the hospital and they cordon off the area. They're like, we have to contain this virus. But then they find out, hey, where's this undersecretary? What's his face? He was in contact with Baker too. He was probably spreading it. And Lawrence says, oh, he went back to London. They're like, oh no. So they're sending all these police squads and unit soldiers after him to try to, grab patient zero before he spreads the virus all across London. But they're having trouble finding him. They don't do a great job of, finding him and quarantining him because he spread it all around the subway, and he spread it to the ticket holder in the taxi cab, and you just see all these people getting infected with these sort of open wounds and these pox scars and this sort of staph infection kind of pandemic, and everyone starts collapsing, and all of London is not doing too well as everyone's getting infected. Meanwhile, the doctor and Elizabeth Shaw are still working on a antibody vaccine for it, cure. Eventually, after they take some blood samples and infected people and tried all these different drugs, it's very discouraging, but eventually they find something that works to counteract the virus, and they're like, all right, we've got the cure. Let's write down the chemical compound. Elizabeth Shaw goes to phone the doctor, some doctor of some facility, and the doctor is writing down the scientific equation that is the vaccination. You doing all right, Adder? Still awake? Going to sleep?
Yep.
All right. Anyway, that's happening. The Silurians kind of have these I don't know, they've tapped into the compound. They sort of have these monitor grain screens where they can sort of vision in on what's happening in the compound, and they learn that the doctor's making this vaccination for this pandemic that they've released. They're like, oh no, that's not going to work. So
they never try to stop him.
Yeah, they try to stop him. So they sort of third eye beam, melt their way through. They kill some unit soldiers on the way through the cavern. They beam their way into the compound. They show up and they beam the doctor in the face. And the doctor, they take him, they snatch him, they take him back to the Silurian base to beam the door shut behind him. Elizabeth Shaw's like, all right, so here's the vaccine. You can cure all the people. Wait, where's the doctor gone? They realize, some dead unit soldiers are there. The Silurians must have grabbed the doctor right out from under our noses. Oh no, what's gonna happen? Yada yada yada. Last episode, I think we're on. So the last episode, the Silurians are like, all right, the pandemic disease didn't work. We still want to wipe out the human race. Let's go en masse, infiltrate the compound, take the nuclear reactor, use it as power, wake up the rest of the Silurians, and also power this machine that we made that can, eradicate the atmosphere or something. The belt, which filters out radiation or something. It's going to make the planet really hot, which is going to kill all the humans, and it's going to be perfect for a reptilian environment. So they charge into the base. They bring the doctor with them because, he's the knowledgeable person that knows how to operate the nuclear reactor for the power, because it's kind of been shut down since this whole outbreak happened. So they take the doctor, they charge into the compound, they're shooting a bunch of unit soldiers and scientists with their third eye beam, making people's hearts explode. Children's show, a lot of violence, a lot of death. We had, so many people die in this episode. At least 14 people died on camera, plus a countless other people we see just drop dead from this pandemic virus that they released, and at least 2 Silurians, so close to 20 people I'd say died. Yeah, about 24 people died in this serial, and only 7 episodes. It's pretty bloody. That might be our bloodiest serial yet. It might have broken a record. Yeah, I think so. Spearhead from Space was one of the bloodiest serials we had before that, and that was 13, and this one's at least 14, plus the 2 Silurians, plus however many other people dropped dead from the virus. So yeah, we're in a, maybe not per episode, but definitely a lot of deaths. Probably the most deaths per serial we're looking at. Anyway, they charge into the compound. They have the doctor. The doctor's like, all right, I'll cooperate. I'll cooperate. I'll turn on the nuclear reactor. I'll help you power your machine. The doctor and Elizabeth are working, and he's like, we're gonna put in all of the nuclear cores at the same time. We're gonna overload the circuits. We're gonna cause a meltdown. And Elizabeth's like, oh, but doctor, that will. And he's like, shush. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, just play on. So, so the Silurians are holding them at gunpoint, basically, third eye point, and they're like, do what we want you to do. Yada yada yada, cooperate. And he's like, all right, I'm turning on the nuclear reactor. He's like, I need Elizabeth to help me. So initially the Silurians came into the compound, guns blazing. They're just slaughtering everyone. The doctor's like, don't kill them. They're scientific minds. I need them to help me turn on the reactor. And they're like, you don't need all of them. And they kill more people. And the doctor's like, no, don't kill them, or else I won't cooperate. I won't help you. And they're like, turn on the nuclear reactor. They're all dying. So that's how I kind of negotiated to save the lives of the brigadier and the other soldiers and scientists and Elizabeth Shaw. So they're working away. They're doing their jobs on the reactor. the doctor goes, "Now, Elizabeth," and Elizabeth puts in the nuclear cores, and it overloads the whole circuitry and the energy output. It destroys the Silurians' machine, which is just supposed to degrade the atmosphere, and it causes like this nuclear meltdown. Alarms are going off. The Silurians are like, "What are you doing? We're gonna all die." And the doctor's like, "Exactly. There's gonna be a huge explosion. There's gonna be nuclear fallout and radiation for the next 25 years or so. Your plans are done. We've put a stop to your, conquest to destroy all humans, but, we're gonna die. But it's worth it because the human race is saved." And the Silurians are like, you rascally kids, you've thwarted our plans. We'll go back and say, "You're snoring, Heather, you're snoring. I'm trying to cover the plot." You're not going to be able to adhere. So the Silurians are like, "No matter, we'll just go back into hibernation and we'll sleep for the next 50 years and it'll all be okay. You guys are, however, going to be left to die." And it's that kind of, what do you call it? A gimmick, the old 1970s plot point of, we won't just kill you, we'll just leave you to die and we'll take off. So the Silurians retreat back to the base while this nuclear meltdown's happening. And then they go back into their hibernation state for the next 50 years or so, and the doctor's like, "Hey, we've saved the day, the human race goes on." And Elizabeth's like, "Okay, so we're just bluffing, right? The nuclear reactor's not having a meltdown." He's like, "Oh no, it is. Yeah, we're about to die. We should probably try and fix this." And of course, there's a narrow chance of counteracting this nuclear meltdown, but of course, the doctor's a brilliant mind, and they do it, and they short circuit something, and it puts the whole facility back into order. Anyway, so the day is saved, the Silurians are back in hibernation, the threat to humanity has been thwarted, and then the doctor, the next day, they're like, the brigadier and the unit has sort of taken guard of this compound, and the doctor is like, "All right, we need to go grab some scientists, and we're going to go try and wake up one or two of the Silurians at a time and reason with them because they're this intelligent species." And the brigadier's like, "Okay, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Go do your thing." And the doctor's like, "No, seriously, don't go into the compound while we're gone. We'll be back to negotiate with them and wake a few of them up at a time out of their hibernation." And the brigadier's like, yeah, you got it. We won't enter the compound." So the doctor and Elizabeth Shaw take off to some scientific research center. Meanwhile, the sort of climax of the episode, the very end of the serial, is that the brigadier's like, "All right, blow up Silurians, seal the entrance. This threat to humanity can't proliferate." So he blows up the underground caverns. He seals the entrance, and that's sort of the end of the serial. The doctor's driving off. He sees this explosion. He's like, "Oh no, the brigadier blew up the Silurians. We're going to reason with them. They're intelligent species. That's murder." And that sort of leads us on this, conflict, this sort of agitation between the brigadier's military mind thinking and the doctor's, more compassionate kind of thinking. And that's the end of the serial. And we have a few set questions about what happened in this serial, but Hatter's gone to Neverland, so we'll probably talk about that next podcast. But that summarizes the plot. Thank you so much for joining us on the 52nd episode of the Drunk Doctor Who podcast. As you can see, we're thoroughly intoxicated, so I guess that's going to bring this podcast to an end. One note I'd like to talk about is how the end of this serial, the Silurians aren't really eradicated, they're just put into hibernation. So that kind of sets them up as perhaps a reoccurring villain that will come back in a later serial, because they're just sleeping underground in this cavern that's been sealed off. They haven't really been dealt with, so we'll probably see them again. And we'll talk about that and other questions probably next podcast, and as well as the next serial of Doctor Who on episode 53 of the Drunk Doctor Who podcast. Thank you again for joining me and Sleeping Hatter. And we'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye. Alright, Hatter, sing our outro theme. Boop, 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 boop.